Welcome to the Publishing Performance Show, the podcast that helps self-published authors turn their passion into a profit. Now, I'm your host, Teddy Smith, and if you're serious about building a sustainable business, then you're in the right place. Every week, I sit down with successful authors, industry experts, and publishing professionals who share their exact strategies they use right now to how they've grown their business, grow their readership, increase their book sales, and essentially to make a bit more money. Now, whether you're just starting out or you're looking to scale your existing publishing business, you'll walk away from every episode with actionable insights you can implement immediately. Now, if you're new here, it would really help me out if you could subscribe either on Apple or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you are. Just simply hit the subscribe button. It really helps the show to get more reach, which means we can get better guests for you and we can help you out in more ways. All right, let's dive into this episode. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Publishing Performance Show. Today I'm really happy to be joined by Amy Suto, who's a 7-figure freelance writer, memoir writer. She's a best-selling author, and she's also the founder of the Substack, the top Substack, Make Writing Your Job. So thank you for joining us, Amy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Teddy. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on. I've been sort of following your blog, and I'm not like a member of your Substack yet, but I've seen all your writing online, so it's great to see you come onto the show. So thank you very much. Now, one of the things that I think you talk about a lot the most is obviously this whole process about becoming a 7-figure writer. So were there any like real levers that you moved to go from just being like relatively successful to actually really starting to push on and become a sort of 7-figure or really successful writer?
Yeah. So the first thing that I write about in kind of like my upcoming book, Write for Money and Power, and the thing that I talk about the most on my Substack is kind of like, it feels a little woo-woo, but it's the mindset. And I think that when we talk about mindset, it can be like, oh, that kind of like feels like a little soft. It feels like more philosophical. But in reality, when we think about how writers have been treated in society, we've all kind of internalized this idea of like, if you want to be a writer, you're opting into being broke. You're opting into starving and being a starving artist. And we've all heard that. We've all, if anyone has like grown up wanting to become a writer when you were a kid, jokes would always come like at you being like, oh yeah, well, you're going to be a starving artist. I hope you enjoy, eating tofu in a studio apartment for your entire life. And so I think that for me, the thing that really shifted me out of this mentality of like, I have to hustle and work really hard and like, just like grind to even just make a living to, wait a minute, I actually can use some elements of like marketing and positioning to position myself as a 7-figure writer and a writer who can solve certain problems for clients, who can write things on Substack that audiences want to read. And I can also reposition my self-published books in order to hit my sales targets and also to kind of like create the financial stability that I need to be wildly creative. And so it does start with that mindset piece and rejecting the starving artist myth.
Yeah, I love that starving artist myth. Like you have to sort of sit there writing by candlelight with a glass of red wine at night. Like one of the things that I found most interesting about you is, a lot of the audience that I speak to, they want to make most of their money from writing books, which I know that totally makes sense. But your business has like lots of different aspects to it, and it's more of a business rather than just you being a writer, I would say. So why don't you tell us about those different aspects of writing that you did in order to become more successful and to get that financial stability you're talking about?
Yeah. And I think that I want to preface and say that some writers like will only want to do one thing, and then that's totally fine too. I like kind of the multi-pronged approach of having a few different things because I think that they all feed into each other. And so I have 3 pillars of self-publishing, a paid newsletter, and I choose Substack as my platform, and freelancing. I think those 3 dovetail really well because if you want to be a successful self-published author, you need an audience to read your books who can, be in your orbit for a long period of time. And having a successful Substack or a newsletter where you can share updates on your book and things like that really kind of like helps dovetail that. And then freelancing can help you have the capital to be able to fund that initial time to write that first book. And then also kind of help you cover publishing costs if you're self-publishing, which is what I recommend and what I see so many authors do so much better at. And I do interviews on my Substack with authors who are successfully self-publishing to inspire people and show people what's possible. So I think that in terms of like approaching what is going to be best for someone's career, I think that having a 3-pronged approach really helps. And so I'm a big proponent of trying to think about like, as a writer, what are the things that you have control over? You have control over not a lot, but you do have control over a lot of things that you can do. And so when I came up in Hollywood as a TV writer, I didn't have control over anything. I was just like part of the machine. I was just kind of operating in these TV writers' rooms. I had my marching instructions. I went to go like write an episode of TV, and then it got taken away and put into space, and then that's it. And so as a freelance writer, when I started moonlighting as a memoir ghostwriter in Hollywood, and my clients started flying me out to interview them, and I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I can set my race. I can tell them, when I'm available, when I'm not available. This is crazy. And so it kind of allowed me to carve a new path for myself with autonomy. And then what I'm seeing now is that that's just the future. It's like kind of for writers, we're kind of slower to embrace this idea of a creator economy. And the creator economy has been here for so long for influencers and for social media personalities. But for writers, we're, I think, a little bit more allergic to social media and a little bit more allergic to putting a price tag on our skills and our work. But if we embrace that, then we're able to have more financial stability and also make more space for our creativity, which I think is the end game here.
Yeah, that's amazing. When you decided you were going to go onto Substack and do freelancing, I think you kind of touched on it then because you're in Hollywood, it kind of happens. But how did you decide that those were the ways you were going to do the writing and start making more money?
Yeah, so I kind of fell into it. When I was starting in Hollywood, I was working as an assistant, just kind of working my way up the ladder before I finally got to write my first episode of TV. And so as an assistant, you don't make very much money. You make minimum wage. You're getting people coffee. You're like, surviving on like desk lunches that are gifted to you by the production. It's definitely a very challenging environment to succeed in. And so, especially when shows get canceled or you have these gaps in between shows, a lot of other assistants would bartend and things like that. But I knew that I wanted to get my writing skills like sharper and hone them. And so in between writers' rooms, I just started freelancing. I was just like really started to enjoy it because I started to see pretty quickly that the money that I was earning from freelancing was outpacing the money that I was making in Hollywood. And that felt so backwards because everyone told me, well, if you just stick it out, and I had I went to USC and I went to film school there. And so everybody was just telling us graduates, like, you just got to work in the industry, you got to pay your dues, you got to climb the ladder. And then eventually you'll hit a point where you'll be compensated for your talent. You'll have the opportunities that you want. It took me a while to realize that was kind of like a road to nowhere, where it's like, even after I wrote my first episode of TV, people were still trying to get me back into assistant jobs. And I'm like, whoa, 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 the ladder shouldn't be me going back down. It should be continuing to go back up. And that's when I realized that there was a bigger industry problem happening. And then when COVID hit, I'm like, okay, my writer's room went to a Zoom room and then it ended. I'm like, all right, I'm starting from scratch. I'm starting over. I'm going to go full into freelancing and just kind of like take a leap of faith. And it was very scary because it's like, I had only known like the structured life of, education and being in school and then being in these really kind of like fast-paced writers' rooms. And then when that all ended, just like, okay, I'm working for myself now. And it's kind of this abyss that's really scary. But the thing that made it less scary is that when I actually committed and put my full heart into it, it ended up working out better than I could have ever imagined and just completely taking off. And so I think that when a lot of people are approaching freelancing, there's that fear that it's like, oh, I'm never going to make enough money to live. I'm never going to figure it out. But then what I think people don't understand is that with freelancing, it's so much more secure and stable than a full-time job. A full-time job can lay you off. Like I was on shows that were canceled. Like things can just disappear and be taken from you in an instant. But with freelancing, you have 3, 4, 5 clients. And if you lose one of them, you can just go replace them. But that doesn't mean you're losing all of your income. And so that was kind of one piece that I thought was really, really kind of interesting for freelancing, is that you also are like honing your skills and working for clients who are really accomplished and interesting. I've done a lot of different types of freelance writing in my career, from memoir ghostwriting to copywriting. And I've been able to work with incredible founders, incredible different types of like Olympians and NBA players, and just creative people who have incredible stories to tell. And I keep a lot of their stories like with me. Like I feel like that through my freelance work, I not only became a better writer, but also a better person.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, to jump into freelancing, one of the concepts you talked about in your book was going from like being in the 10 cents a word trenches to moving up to doing those more luxury jobs like you just mentioned. What was there, like a mind shift reset that you needed to do in order to go from going for those 10 cents a words kind of clients into really going for those bigger clients?
Yes. So when it comes to freelance writing, one part of it is being a good writer and understanding what makes a good deliverable. And then the other I would almost say like 60% of it is like being reliable, communicating well with your client, and then marketing yourself and learning just a little bit of sales to be dangerous. And I think that like when it comes to writers, those parts of the business side are things that we don't really think about. When I finally kind of like stumbled into learning more about the business side, it unlocked so much more for me. And when we're thinking about business, it's just simply figuring out as a writer, how can you communicate to your client what your deliverable will do for them? What will them investing money in you do for their business, for their image, for their brand? And for me specifically with memoir ghostwriting, people see the benefit of writing a book as like so many different things come from it. When you write a book, you're able to step on a TED Talk stage and talk about it. You're able to have influence from the things that you talk about. You're able to do podcast tours and press tours, and journalists are interested in hearing what you have to say. And so when my clients some of them already have some level of like social capital of some kind, when they think about writing a book, it kind of adds that like layer of like storytelling and prestige that allows them to then leverage that into speaking opportunities, into new business ventures, things like that. And it really does kind of then ripple effect into everything. And so when I'm sharing with my clients, like a lot of them already know this, like how a book can change their life and how a book can change their business, then for them it's a no-brainer. It's like, okay, well, not only am I preserving my story and kind of sharing my legacy, but I'm also, investing in my business and my personal brand. And then one thing that we're seeing right now, because everyone's like, oh, well, what about AI? What about all of that? And I think that what's really telling right now is that companies like Anthropic and other prominent AI companies are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire storytellers for their companies and writers for their companies. Like there was a recent job posting for like, in the six figures for Anthropic, and they're hiring a writer. And everyone was joking because Anthropic created Claude. And they're like, because Claude can't do it for you. And so the whole point of the kind of the writers who are able to really leverage their skills for clients, if you're able to learn storytelling and leverage that for clients, that's transformational, and you can price for that. And so in my book, Write for Money and Power, I kind of talk about like how to really price for the outcome. Not, I'm going to work really hard for you on your book, but this book is going to help you achieve A, B, C, X, Y, Z.
Yeah, I think that you basically described like that whole aspect of becoming a writer into becoming a business, like basically just in one sentence. By being able to sell the outcome to people, that is where you're going to make the money, because you see with so many non-fiction books where people just put the title as like, one of the features of the book, but actually it's where you want the reader to get to. And that's going to sell way more than a book that is just saying one thing that the book's about. So I really think you've hit the nail on the head with that part.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that there's just so many pieces of like, as writers, like we already have so many of the intuitive pieces that businesses and individuals need from us. Like we're able to bring our empathy and our storytelling skills and our way that we frame stories to other people. The only thing that we need to do is turn that back on ourselves and understand how we can tell the story of how our skills will help other people. And that can power everything from freelancing to our self-published books and Substack.
Just a quick shout out to all the romance authors out there. Now, if you're tired of shouting into the void every time you launch a brand new romance book, then let myromancereads.com do the shouting for you. They have a list of over 18,000 romance readers who love getting books when they're on discounts or on the free promotion. And it goes into their inbox every single day. It's got an amazing open rate, and every promotion gets on average over 600 clicks. That's a lot of new readers for your new series of romance books. So head to myromancereads.com where you can sign up today. Now, it must be a bit of a journey to get obviously up to charging, $100,000 or whatever for one particular job. But for people who are just starting out, where do you recommend they try and find those initial writing jobs to help supplement their income?
Yeah, I think that everyone has to start somewhere. And I think that just that first initial job is not going to be probably in the six figures unless you've built up a substantial career in another way. But I run the Substack, Make Writing Your Job, where we try to solve for that problem. And I basically created that writing job board a year ago because I was getting in too much work from clients through my own personal website that I couldn't take, to the point where I was just having to turn clients away. And I felt bad because I wasn't able to help them. So I created the writing job board on my Substack, Make Writing Your Job, to help connect the writers in my community to those clients who wanted to hire high-end ghostwriters, copywriters, YouTube script writers, creative writers for their projects. And so we've created that hub to help connect people. And then we also have a team of curators that scour the entire internet and pull the best writing contests, grants, residencies. One of our curators actually found the current residency that she is on through our job board, and she is like on the East Coast, like writing her novel in a cabin in the woods. And so we've seen a lot of people land really cool opportunities, from full on like memoir ghostwriting projects to book editing jobs to romance proofreading jobs. And it's just been like such a lovely experience. I even just got an email yesterday from another client or another writer who landed a book ghostwriting client from our job board. And just do a happy dance and like run around my apartment, just being really excited for our writers. And so I started the Substack to help inspire and educate people to get those first few freelancing jobs that can then create the domino effect. And that's kind of like why we curate the high paying writing jobs in one place to help our community make that leap into full-time freelance.
What sorts of jobs do you see mostly on your jobs board? Is there like a trend with which ones you see more often?
Yeah, so we have a weekly meeting with our curator team where we talk about like what are the most clicked on jobs, like what are people most excited by.
Yeah.
And even in the last week, we had like one of the highest kind of categories is copywriting. And that surprised me a little bit because we have a lot of creative jobs. We have like a lot of proofreading jobs for novelists, but the copywriting jobs have been popular lately because they pay super well. So some of these jobs pay like $8,000 a month for, somebody to write copy. And again, in the age of AI, you'd think, why aren't these companies just using AI to like bash out their copy? But in reality, copy is also storytelling. And I did copywriting for the beginning of my career. I think that's a great way in because you're having to distill a company's story and a message and be creative about it and understand sales at the level of writing. And I think that it's such a cool skill. And I think it's such a great kind of like, it's like kind of foot in the door of freelancing if you're just getting started. And then from there, you can also scale a copywriting job into a book ghostwriting job if you're working with a client. And if you're starting with writing their landing page, then their newsletters, then sometimes they just bring you on to write the full book. And that's kind of how I started in ghostwriting specifically.
Are there any jobs or sectors within ghostwriting that you find pays more than others, in case people are just wondering where's the best place to start?
Yes. So copywriting pays really well, but if people are able to make the jump into book ghostwriting, I would say memoir ghostwriting. I'm very biased. Memoir ghostwriting is my favorite. I absolutely love working one-on-one with clients. And the thing with memoirs is that they're very bespoke. Somebody is only going to write their life story once. And when they do it, when they finally decide to write that life story, they're going to spend quite a bit of money on it. I've been flown out to countries like Austria and worked with a founder in Vienna to really kind of dig into their life story, where I met their families and they showed me Austrian culture and food, so that I can have those details to help them accurately capture their life story. So I think when it comes to somebody's memoir, when they're at the end of their life or even kind of in the middle reflecting on it, there's so much that comes with that exercise of writing a memoir. And I think it's not for everybody because it is such an all-encompassing deliverable, but it is one of the ones that you can charge the most for as a writer. And it's something that measurably kind of helps people's lives and is something that can also help their business as well.
Yeah, definitely. One of the concepts, again, you talk about in your book is that the book is not like a guide to becoming a freelancer, or it's not a freelancing guide. It's more of an operating system to run your writing business. When you've written about that in the book, what are those steps that people should follow in order to essentially be more organized and have that operating system running in their business?
Yeah. So I kind of look at like my book and my Substack as like two pieces of a whole. If you're looking for like tactical, how do I make a portfolio? How to kind of like have the basics of having a freelance business. On Make Writing Your Job, we have classes, we do live classes, and we have a lot of information for people who are just getting started as freelancers and who want the nuts and bolts. But my upcoming book, Write for Money and Power, is truly about that mindset that I was talking about, which is rewiring these limited beliefs that are holding you back from making 6-7 figures from your writing, even if you really want to, but maybe you have a limiting belief that is preventing you from hopping on a Zoom call and quoting the highest number that you've ever quoted for someone to pay you for your writing. And that's the problem. When I got started as a freelance writer, I was too afraid to quote high enough for to really kind of accurately capture the value of what I was giving to clients, to the point where one of my early clients, when I quoted her my rate, like stopped me and was like, no, you need to be charging double this for what you're doing. And I'll never forget her because, first of all, she was negotiating against her own interests. But second, I just thought that that was so kind for somebody to point out that I was undercharging. And that's happened multiple times in my career. And anytime that if you don't feel a little bit of fear sharing your rate with a client, then you're not charging high enough. And that's just something that is like really good advice for people. And that's all mindset. That's all like kind of like in the kind of the process of understanding what are you worth? What are your words worth? And it kind of runs parallel with your craft, because if you're a writer, and even if you're a newer writer, the value that you bring to a project with your creativity and your artistry and being able to allocate your brain power to helping a client reach a goal, that is valuable. That is inherently valuable. And I think that a lot of us writers have been hammered into this idea of we are going to be starving artists and that 10 cents a word is all that we're worth. And I think that that is something that we have to undo at the mindset level first. And that's why I spend a big portion of the book in the beginning trying to rewrite that mental operating system to prime writers to skip a big like section of the career that I had that was just like spent like not really charging enough to like, really value my skills. And so I'm trying to help people accelerate their journey to blow past where I was so that they can get to those higher earning years faster, so that they can then have more time to be able to travel or spend time with their families. And so that's kind of like the whole point of Write for Money and Power, is not just for money and power, but the power to decide how you spend your life.
If you see writers that are still charging, 10 cents per word, or they're still working that sort of freelance method, how do you recommend they approach that conversation with people to go to an output type, as you mentioned, like charging per job rather than just charging per letter?
Yeah, people can charge per word if they want to, but the whole point is that the thing that will solve most writers' problems is if you raise your rates. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to raise their rates, or they see a job listed at a certain rate and think that that's all that they can get from the job. A good example of this is when I used to spend a lot of time freelancing on Upwork before I had my own client flow coming directly from my website. And there'd be jobs listed at like $500 for tons of deliverables for that job. And so eventually I just got to the point where I started reaching out to those clients and being like, hey, you've listed this job at $500, but this would actually cost $12,000 to get the quality you're looking for. If you're interested, we can talk. And to my surprise, I booked those jobs at the rate that I quoted. And
Wow.
I think a lot of writers don't realize that everything is negotiable. And I tell them this about the job board as well, is that clients are putting out a rate that they think that they want to pay, but it's your job as a freelancer to educate them on what the value of high quality writing is actually worth. And this might not be something that everybody is able to do at the beginning stage of their career, but the faster you can get to that point where you are reaching out to a client, pitching them on your services, and then setting the rate that you believe your writing is worth, that will change everything. And I think that there's so many times where I've done that and been like, there's no way they're going to come up to this rate. This is like triple what they posted. And then they do. And so I think that you never know until you try. And I think a lot of people out there, there's just not enough good talent who are reaching these clients. And there's just so much spam out there on the internet, and it's so hard to hire people, because I've hired people for my own business. And to find high quality freelancers that are reliable and creative, it's a challenge. And so people think it's like a red ocean and really hard to get hired as a freelance writer, but great writers are still scarce. And I think that for us, like there's so much like potential to land such amazing jobs with cool clients at a rate that is going to compensate us for our creative energy that we're pouring into it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one of the things we've sort of touched on a few times throughout this conversation, but never really dug deep into it, is AI and the writing. Now, I've seen you've written about AI and writing quite a lot. Is it something you use in your business?
Yeah. So I think that one of the things that I chose to do with Write for Money and Power is the last chapter of the book. I share how the book itself was in part written with AI. And that is something that some of my early beta readers were like very shocked by. They're like, I felt like that this book was so personal and so detailed, and I didn't believe it. And I think that a lot of people, when they think about AI, they think it's this one-to-one tool that will just replace us. When in reality, AI is just like spell check or Grammarly or the typewriter. There's so many kind of like things that have changed what it means to be a writer. And I think that AI is something that can help with research. AI is something that can help with revisions and editing, and it can help with so many parts of the creative process. And it can help reduce the time that us writers spend thinking about, okay, how many times have I repeated this word in this book? Like, how many times have I like said the same thing twice? How many times, like, or how can I take this really long rambling section and kind of shorten it? And so I think that AI is something that all writers should get acquainted with and see how it operates in their process, but it is not a replacement for our process. And there's so many instances where AI can be just super dumb and not actually give us what we need. So I think it's just something that can be an additive tool that we should look at as a tool in our business and not be afraid of. We shouldn't be moralizing against it. Like, it should be something that we should really approach with open eyes. And I know I say that as a writer in San Francisco. So I am in like the heart of the crazy AI boom. But I do think that a lot of writers are very scared of AI, and they shouldn't be, because it's something that even these big AI companies are hiring writers to help them. So there's still so much of a need for that storytelling. And if everybody is using AI, the differentiator are going to be the companies that are hiring humans.
Yeah. The AI can only ever tell someone else's story. It can't create its own. So it's, every human has their own aspects they bring to it. So I think that is really interesting. What does your workflow look like with AI? Do you use particular tools that you found really helpful, or has it been more just generally, I'm just using everything?
Yeah, I think I use ChatGPT. But I use the 4.0. I hate 5. So I think every writer's got to figure out their model or the thing that they use. And I think that the best way to look at like workflow with AI, because every writer is so different, is to understand like what part of the process is the most annoying and how can you have AI help with that. So one of the things that I used AI for in this book was I was trying to track down a source that I had for one of the pieces of research that I had done. And I had like lost a link. I was trying to find like this obscure, like kind of like article that would back up one of my points, and Google was doing nothing for me. And so I put ChatGPT on deep research, and it was able to not only unearth the link that I was looking for, but also unearth a primary source of another kind of piece of information that would help me with the book. So I think that there's a lot of pieces of very boring, mundane, routine work that ChatGPT and these other AI tools are going to be able to do for us to free up writers to be able to be more in the higher level thinking pieces of what it means to be a writer and write a book, which is such a huge endeavor and just takes so much time. So I think that to help us be able to be more prolific, we'll also dig deeper into our work. I think that is the best use case of AI, not just being like, generate me a book, please, because like that will never end well.
Have you tried Google's Notebook LM? It's definitely my favorite tool at the moment, where you can sort of put all your own content into it and start asking it questions of your own content. Have you tried that one?
No, I haven't done that one yet, but I'll definitely give it a try.
Yeah, it's amazing. So if you're writing things yourself, for example, you can take your own work, put it into Google Notebook LM, and it just uses that content as the content that it draws information from. So say you're writing a novel and you're like, oh, was this character drinking Coke or was it drinking Pepsi? You can sort of ask questions like that and it can bring that information back forward. It's the one I've been recommending the most at the moment. It's so clever.
I love that. No, I think that's great. The other way that I like to use AI is text to speech. And I love using ChatGPT as dictation tool to be able to like just brain dump a lot of information and be like, okay, here's all of the things I'm thinking about. Now please generate me an outline so that I can go write this. And so I think that it's really helpful to just be able to sometimes talk at the AI, because it kind of serves as like a collector of your ideas and an organizer of ideas to then help you really see it on the page without having to sit there and manually type it all. So I think that like the voice to text dictation tools, I think are really good with some of these AI tools.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for the day when someone creates like an AI coworker, so you can basically just have someone sitting next to you that you chat to, and it gives your ideas back to you.
I love that. Yeah, I'm sure that's already on the way.
Yeah. One of the last things I wanted to talk about was paid newsletters, because I know you've got your Substack and you sort of have the free version and the paid version. A lot of writers, I've got a newsletter and it's free, so I'm actually interested in myself. What did you need to do in order to go from making it free into making it paid? Like, what was the extra value that you felt you had to provide?
Yeah, for make writing your job, I would say that most of our 99% of our content is underneath the paywall, just because it just takes us so long to curate the jobs. But I have a personal Substack called the Suto Science, and on that one it's all essays. And I think that when it comes to figuring out the paywall, and I've worked with some clients on building their Substack as well. And when it comes to thinking about like what are you sharing for free and what are you putting under the paywall, you have to give enough to people that they can get a real flavor of your writing and your essays or your articles. And then you hit them with a paywall, like right at the juicy part. And just because like that way they can get an understanding of the points that you're making or the things that you're saying and the ideas that you're sharing. And then right when they're like at the point where they'll get something like really kind of like interesting from you, going from the paywall. And then from there, I think running a lot of 7-day free trials. One thing that we've been doing a lot with Make Writing Your Job is like trying different like discounts. And like a piece of advice that I gotten from another Substacker was to just email your free subscribers and try to figure out how to get them to upgrade to paid. So don't email your whole list, just email the people who haven't yet upgraded and be like, hey, why haven't you upgraded? What could I offer you that would have you upgrade? By the way, here's a discount. By the way, here's some more free information. And so it's like trying to create those email sequences just for your free readers with the intent purpose to have them upgrade. And I think that that is something that is often overlooked, where people will be like, oh, well, I'm only going to email everybody, or I'm only going to email my paid subscribers. But free subscribers are people who kind of need to understand the value that you're offering. And that's why they haven't upgraded, or they're price sensitive and you need to offer discounts. And so I think there's a lot of strategy around that has helped immensely with the growth of Make Writing Your Job. And I think it's something that's often overlooked with people who are running paid newsletters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm trying to think how I can do a new paid newsletter myself, because at the moment I'm sending out loads of value, but I'm wondering how I can make that extra step. So maybe something I just need to give a bit more thought to.
Yeah, and I also think that there's so much that is like, in terms of platforms, like there's always kind of like this arbitrage moment at the beginning of a new platform, like when YouTube was new, that if you were early to YouTube or early to TikTok, you were able to get a foothold and get a ton of traction by kind of getting into that platform early. Substack is at that stage right now where it's still a very early platform, and you can get a lot of organic traffic and a lot of organic discovery from Substack itself. Like we get thousands of dollars of traffic from Substack to our paid subscriber list each week. And I think that that is like, it's just coming from people subscribing to our newsletter because they subscribed to someone else's newsletter or because Substack recommended us to them. And so I do think that taking advantage of that organic traffic, we've never had that in the newsletter space. We've never been able to run a newsletter on any other platform and get that kind of like organic traffic of somebody being recommended our newsletters. And I think that that's unique about Substack. And I like their platform specifically because their incentives are aligned. They take a percentage of your earnings, whereas like other paid newsletter platforms just charge you monthly. And so Substack doesn't earn anything unless you earn something. So all their features are built around discovery and converting people to paid and finding different ways to like add value to people who are price sensitive.
Yeah. How does your Substack work? How does it work? Like creating Substack? Is it just because a lot of people don't know what Substack is? Is it like a social media where you have all of your feed seeing other people's Substack on there as well, or is it more you just go to someone's specific page like yours?
Yeah, so they have Substack Notes, which is their version of Twitter, which I think is like very charming and very lovely. And then they have, so people discover Substacks through there, but the cool features are actually on like the back end of everybody has their own Substack page, and you operate as like both a website and your posted email to people. But the thing is, when people go and sign up as a paid subscriber to somebody else, there's an onboarding page that pops up where they're like, oh, well, you just paid for this subscription. Do you want to get 50% off these 15 different other like newsletters that are popular and related to this one? And that's when people are like, oh yeah, I'll spend $4 a month for this one and this one and this one. And that onboarding flow where they're recommending other Substacks to you is kind of where you can get a lot of brand new subscribers that have never met you and come into your universe as a paid subscriber. And I think that workflow is very smart. And Substack has a bunch of other auto features where they'll upsell subscribers before they cancel, or they'll try to like email your engaged subscribers and get them to upgrade. There's so many little neat tips and tricks that Substack has that will really kind of supercharge your writing. So as long as you just have, and this is the thing that most people get wrong, they basically post their Substacks for free and then never put up a paywall, never turn on paid, or they turn on paid too late. But the thing is, Substack is not going to promote your Substack until you turn on paid subscriptions and connect your Stripe. And the moment you do that and put a paywall, like then they're going to start sending people your way. And so if anybody is moving to Substack, that's going to be the first thing that you do. Like almost before you like fill out your about page, you just like turn on paid subscriptions and just start to see strangers find your writing and pay for it. And that was like, honestly, the craziest feeling to like get those first like 2 or 3 paid subscribers when I started being like, wait a minute, I don't know these people. This isn't my mom. Like, who's subscribing to me and paying like money every month to like read my writing? And it was such a lovely experience to be able to write for those early subscribers. And I think that I just think that there's such a cool kind of opportunity right now with Substack, and they just raised like $10 million. So they're here to stay as a platform. And I think that they're kind of like an interesting way for writers to take a slice out of the creator economy pie.
Sounds like if you are thinking about going freelance, then Substack's probably one of the first things you should start writing on. It sounds like maybe that's tip number one for everyone.
Yeah, especially because, like, once again, these three pillars all dovetail. Your writing on Substack can then serve as a portfolio item for your freelancing clients. Your writing on Substack can also eventually be put together in a book if you're writing all about one topic. I know one of the writers that I met in Florence for a writer's retreat earlier this year was doing just that. She actually lives in Portugal as well. And she has just been writing letters to Portugal in this small town that she lives in, and she is putting it all together in a book. And so I think that there's so many kind of cool opportunities on Substack to serialize fiction, to put together memoirs, and to kind of like put your work out there, allow your early fans to pay for it, and then get a secondary kind of like income stream from then publishing your book and sharing that with your subscribers. So all of these three things, sometimes when I'm kind of sharing these three pillars, people are like, oh, that's a lot. I have to write a book and start a Substack and freelance. But in reality, all three of them, you kind of have to do the work anyways. You're using every part of the buffalo when you start all three things almost simultaneously. And that's why I have my 12-month roadmap to how to earn seven figures with these three pillars in my book, Write for Money and Power, because I want to show people how all these things can dovetail and come together so you can have the most efficient path to your first $1 million as a writer with these three pillars.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, you sound so busy. This is the last question, but I just wanted to go, what does your work day look like? How do you stay organized with this? Because I know a lot of writers, they do really struggle to fit in their writing around their, full-time work. But what does your productive day look like?
Yeah, I'm very lucky that I've created a lot of systems that help support me in my writing. Like, I just spent 6 weeks in China. And so I'm like just basically been away from my desk, like occasionally writing some travel blogs, occasionally writing some Substack posts, but everything has been able to kind of operate without me. And now I'm back to my desk and like working on client work again and working on kind of like digging back in. But I think that the benefit of this work is if you build the systems around you correctly, then you can take 4 or 6 weeks off and just go travel. You can go take time off and or you can, fly out to visit one of your clients and then, make a whole vacation out of it. And so I think there's so many different ways to organize this. And so I think on my end, it's just a matter of like creating systems and understanding how to batch work with clients. And it's also just a matter of like simply raising your rates. Even when I did freelance coaching in the past with one-on-one clients and helped individual freelancers build their business, I really focused with them on just what is the fastest way that you can just raise your rates, because that will create the breathing room that you need to be able to spend time working on your own projects, to be able to take time off. And I think that is kind of like the linchpin, is like figuring out how quickly can you raise your rates. And if you can't raise your rates in the current niche you're in, how can you get into a niche that allows you to raise your rates and charge more?
Yeah, incredible. Well, thank you so much for chatting. I mean, can't wait to join your Substack now. I've got so many questions, which I feel like I need deeper answers to. So if people
thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. If people want to get in contact with you, especially your Substack and your website and things like that, where's the best place to do it?
Yeah, so everyone can join the Substack at makewritingyourjob.com. And then I have a personal Substack at pseudoscience.com. And when it comes to just getting in touch with me, I'm on all social platforms at Suto Science. So my last name, Suto, and then the word science. But I'm just excited to be here. And I'm really excited that my book, Write for Money and Power, is going to be out January 12th, 2026. And so it's available for pre-order now at just 99 cents. And I'm really excited to kind of share the frameworks that I've learned with writers and help them make a really good living from their writing and have the power to design the life of their dreams.
Oh, fantastic. We'll put links to all that stuff in the show notes. What's your launch process look like for that book? Have you done anything in order to do pre-selling apart from coming on my podcast?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been quite a bunch of different things. Everyone can go to amysuto.com/power to see all of the pre-order benefits that you have. We're giving away Notion templates that are based on the templates that I use for organizing my different work. We're also giving away founding level memberships for Make Writing Your Job, and founding members get some extra perks and benefits on our Substack. And so Usually it's around $550 a year for that founding member subscription, but we're giving it away for people who pre-order 10 books. And so we have a lot of different benefits like that for people who are pre-ordering before the book comes out. And then we're also doing just like a ton of different types of events for people. I'm going to be doing a live reading for the first few chapters on my Substack and just doing all different kinds of things to help educate people and share concepts of the book to have writers get to understand how to implement this in their workflow.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to seeing all that stuff, and good luck with the launch, and we'll speak again soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Teddy.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Publishing Performance Show. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I absolutely love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, I want to tell you about our Publishing Performance Starter Packs. These are curated episodes and collections organised by topic that makes it super easy to find the exact content you're looking for. So whether you're wanting to deep dive into marketing strategies, explore productivity techniques, or focus on any specific area of publishing, we've organised our episodes into targeted playlists just for you. And you can find these all at teddyagsmith.com. And also, whilst you're here, let me tell you about Publishing Performance. It's the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales but aren't really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books, and if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximise your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalised ad account manager to create your ad campaigns for you, to choose your best keywords and to make adjustments in real time and to optimise them over time to save you money and to make more sales. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. You can get started with Amazon ads for free for 30 days at publishingperformance.com, and there's a link in the show notes to get that free 30 days trial. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Publishing Performance Show. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I absolutely love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, I want to tell you about our Publishing Performance Starter Packs. These are curated episodes and collections organised by topic that makes it super easy to find the exact content you're looking for. So whether you're wanting to deep dive into marketing strategies, explore productivity techniques, or focus on any specific area of publishing, we've organised our episodes into targeted playlists just for you. And you can find these all at teddyagsmith.com. And also, whilst you're here, let me tell you about Publishing Performance. It's the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales but aren't really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books, and if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximise your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalised ad account manager to create your ad campaigns for you, to choose your best keywords and to make adjustments in real time and to optimise them over time to save you money and to make more sales. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. You can get started with Amazon ads for free for 30 days at publishingperformance.com, and there's a link in the show notes to get that free 30 days trial.